Wait, hold up. I want to know something. Are you chilling on a park bench right now? Are you sitting in the back of the bus, vibing out, possibly hanging from the tree, enjoying the view? Well, you're probably in the right place. This is Not Enough Questions. If you end up liking what you hear, tell a friend or leave a review. Julian here. I'm letting you know this is another rerun episode due to several factors, actually. Tyler is on her break still. She actually needed to extend it. Once she comes back, if she wants to explain what she's been going through, I'll leave that up to her. I have been running every which way. I recently went to a wedding and a celebration of life. So that took some time away from me doing the podcast. And just work in life has just been, kind of hectic. So with that, all that said, we still wanted to give you a episode when a new episode is supposed to come out. So there's the rerun in the near future. Things should be more back on track and have more of a consistency to episodes. But thank you for sticking with us so far. We're only going to get better as time goes on. With that said, enjoy the episode.
Welcome back, everyone. This is me, Julian, again. The reason why I'm even doing this podcast thing, I'm going to call him the godfather of this dream right here. We got Josh. Josh, you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, so hi, everyone. I'm Joshua. I was Julian's roommate in college for the COVID year. Fun times.
Yes, very, very
lots of memories from impromptu rice porridge to walking in at 3 a.m. in the morning.
Look,
living with Julian was an experience.
It has to be an experience because the very first day I almost jumped into your car. Remember that with the cake?
Oh, he really did do that.
Yeah, I was 2 seconds away from jumping into your car with the doors closed and everything. It's just jumping through the window into your car.
And we probably would have fought because he would have definitely broken that glass. And
not even. No, the window was down. The window was definitely down.
It was one of the one you were gonna hit wasn't. But
look, I think I could have made it. I'm skipping. I'm pretty sure I could have got through the window. If you needed me as a money bank heisting, I could have got through the window.
I just want to make it known this is a way more tame conversation than we were having before we started recording.
They don't even know about that. They don't even know about that.
Very good times living with Julian. Yeah, we went through about like 4 podcast ideas, and then I had to keep it professional. That's all I'm gonna say.
We had to keep it professional, but you're able to. I would really like those the few episodes that we did. If you can send those to me.
I think you're still at it on them because most of them are tame. They were responsible. All the prep work that was irresponsible.
Prep work? What you mean by prep?
See. You don't remember? That's a good thing. We don't need that on our conscience.
Are you talking about lighting the candle and like how?
So if we want to break, I guess we can give them backstory. So the way this started was me and Julian were living together at the end of COVID. We used to do this thing where, again, Julian also is someone who can't smell. I don't know why we bought like 3 candles every week. We would just get a candle, turn off the lights at 11 o'clock in the evening. Because again, we passed all our classes at this point. We're just literally sitting there, turn off all the lights, set a candle in the middle of our dining room table, and who's ever at our apartment asks deep questions. And this required a lot of trust. Because the further these got, the wilder these questions got.
Yeah, and then I would always think of a random scenario, and I need to bring those back.
Not today.
Not today.
Not today.
Oh, that reminded me. You are the first person to think of their own question that isn't on the list of questions. If you saw that. But, just for old time's sake, everyone turn off your lights, light a candle. Let's get into it. Josh, what's your question?
So today we're focusing on, as Julian said, we both, he's saying it as just me, but throughout our friendship, we've been influencing on each other to influence change and personal growth. So I guess today our question is, how do you know you're becoming a better person? Which is a very hard thing to ask yourself, which I didn't realize until I went back to Jiho, which, yeah. So Julian, do you want me to start?
You already started. Let's get it. Like you have a fully loaded story.
No, I just think it's an interesting thing in the sense that you have to build when you're in school or going through any straightforward process. It's easy to have checkpoints. Things move slower because you go from grade 1, grade 2, grade 3 years of college. Everything's kind of laid out to you. When you're kind of out of school, you have to start building in artificial checkpoints. So for me, I kind of use them as vacations, but great checkpoints in the sense of Nesby and Nesby Convention and Jiho, because those are the times when I get to reconnect with people. And then markers in the sense of where you want to go and where you want to be. And after this Jiho, I kind of sat there. I'm like, oh, and even people admitted to me, I've grown as a person. Like in school, I was very tight, a bit wound up, super heavy focused. Living with Julian kind of got me out of that mindset a bit, because Julian's very loose, too loose. I think me living with me tightened him up a bit, shaped him up a bit, got him in gear, we can, got him on routine, but no, it is a thing. You go back, you loosen up, and also you start to see your values change, and people you're friends with have grown, and we all grow in different ways. In the sense of I've seen people who've grown in their career, grown in their personal life. I've grown in my internal work, and I've seen other people who've just grown in the way they look, whether that's the years of stress or, the years of early marriage.
Oh, jeez. Not early marriage. You said that, and it's made me think of what I've been going through to answer this question of how I've grown. I'm relearning to forgive, not to forget, but also to move past it and to let things go. It's kind of forced upon me, but those are the things that I know that I'm growing as a person.
That's a hard one, and I've had to learn that too. And it being okay to let things go, especially as people who value friendships, it's hard to manage those, and choosing whether to confront an issue or let go of an issue or just let go of a person. Even it's a tough decision to make, and I think we're being forced to now, so we have to get over it.
Yeah, no, I've mentioned this multiple times. By choice, almost lost 4 friends for basically almost the same reason. Different situation, but almost the same reason. And it's life. It's truly just life. And I wish I didn't have.
Yeah. And I think it's one of those things, losing friendship sucks. And I went through it, as COVID, friendship circles grow, but you also start to then figure out who's important to you when you test time and test it, and you understand boundaries, the sense of boundaries, and Joey's making a face right now. Boundaries, but also what boundaries you can accept, right? In the sense of knowing what lines are willing to cross, and again, it seems weird to put friendships in a cost benefit analysis, but sometimes you have to do it. There's some people who just bring more to your life than this conflict. But if it's always conflict, sometimes you just have to cut it out.
It's the fact that you use the word boundary. I'm so sick of hearing the word boundary. Not everything needs to be a boundary. Grant, do know boundaries are important. You have your right to say you don't want to do X, Y, and Z, whatever. But not everything needs to be that.
I guess this is a follow-up in the sense of kind of along those lines of becoming a better person. Is it not boundaries, because we can't control other people, right? Is it knowing your own expectations of what you expect and managing those is a better apt description of boundaries?
Yes. But, that's... All right, so going along with this, my whole having to lose friends, I was being hit with the word boundary, and I felt like it was being used as a way just for me to shut up and not talk about my issues. So that's why I'm like, not everything needs to be a boundary.
Words are tricky. And yeah, I have a habit of thinking I'm smarter than I am, even though sometimes I am intelligent and when it comes to wording, and I did do comedy, so I understood for a bit. So I learned a lot about the value of language, and there is definitely social definitions to words and literal definitions to words, which it's a fun thing to deal with, but it's hard, and you have to learn how people communicate. And when you don't communicate the same, it causes issues.
Yeah. So, because I know you've told me this story about your path. Do you want to dive deeper into that?
Which path are you referring to? And that'll make me want to decide whether we want to get into these things.
About the geo trip, how you realize
Have grown.
that realize that you've grown.
I think it's you realize who you're around. And so, like Julian said, I think me and him both went through a bit of trading a storm in between moving to new places, being between jobs at a point, having to rebuild your entire social circle, managing finances in the sense of like scraping by, and then also just understanding your relationships. And I think going through all that in the sense of, for me, it was like when I graduated, not only had I been, most of my friends are older, so I basically rebuilt my relationships from scratch. Then all the friendships I just strengthened, I was moving to Massachusetts and then rebuilt that, lost my job, had a new one, and had to rebuild that in Minneapolis, but doing that over and over again. And then also, as I built this group, continuing to say, there's some things I want to work on going forward, especially going through COVID and having that time to sit with myself alone, going through that. And then coming back to the place which was home. Some of those people I hadn't seen in a while, some of those I hadn't come up with, but I had changed. And I don't blame these people for them changing in different ways, or maybe having not changed in my viewpoint, but I'm different. So the way I interact with these people are different. So I have to learn. And there's some people who, like Julian and a couple of other friends who've been along with me in that journey, who I grew with, and others who weren't there as part of the journey or didn't grow as part of that journey. And it's almost like coming in and having to either recreate that relationship, or that relationship can't have as much depth anymore. But I've grown in the sense of people notice I was looser because, man, I was uptight in school. To make a nerd reference, Batman always talks about being on the mission. The mission comes first. That's kind of how I approached school. Everything was towards the goal, towards the mission. I didn't really give myself time to explore or enjoy. And I did find outlets, but everything had to have a reason. After school, and during COVID, I kind of let myself. There was a loss of this identity a couple of times I had prided myself on, and building myself outside of this work, and what do I value, what it is, and identifying that, which I'm still on that journey, but doing that really made me realize, like, oh, I have more to this, and the skills I had built up for this goal came in handy in other ways and could be more useful and less self-destructive.
Self-destructive meaning like harming yourself, or not even in that, or just making yourself unhappy for others?
I think harming yourself, I want to clarify, because don't mean that physically. I think there's a difference between need and want. And I think a lot of what my journey has been on is becoming who you want to be instead of who you should be. And whether this could be being, Black male, having parents who were first generation, building a legacy, there's different ways to do that. And we kind of get pigeonholed into this easy narrative path and being great at this, but there's not as much room to explore. And again, don't blame my parents, don't blame my surroundings, but I kind of got into that, and constantly there's a box of what I can do. Like, it's engineering box, it's this, there's how to be great. And I can find my fun within that box, but it's hard to break out of it. Once I got out of school, I allowed myself, I'm not out of school, but over these last few years, I've allowed myself to find activities. I've done stand-up, I've rapped in rap ciphers, I take dance classes. I'm finally actually, and this is a funny juxtaposition, I think is the right term. Me and Julian are in an all-male book club, and we read a dating book together and actually using it to improve my dating life. But yeah, just allowing myself to be more free. And then when it comes to, because you said self-harm, what was the second part you said?
Self-harm meaning, or doing something like trying to please others, like in being self-harmful that way, like you're doing something more so for, they want me to do it.
Yeah, it's one of those things in the sense of, I talk about this a lot, and I talk about this a lot with friends. I've talked about this in other circles, but when you go from having to prove yourself to having things handed to you, like I grew up in a somewhat predominantly white area, to where even when I proved myself and got into a magnet program, there was excuses in the sense of I was the diversity quota, to going to an HBCU where you're put at the top and you're kind of on this island. It's a very drastic shift. And trying to find your way in that, it's just like you're bouncing between two extremes, which someone has told me recently, I'm black and white. I don't agree with that person, but I've mostly experienced extremes, so I'm still trying to find this gray. And so a lot of it came to being motivated by anger to prove people wrong versus motivated by not trying to go back to this position where I'm constantly proving. And then once some of that all went away, as well as I achieved my goals, there's kind of a bit of an empty feeling there. And then you have to you start looking through and what actually made me feel good that I didn't need to do, or that I chose to do with a reason, but I invested or gave myself time to. And what was I giving up sleep for? What gave me, I use this term, blissful anger. Like what annoys you and what gives a pet peeve and what drives you up a wall, but you do anyway.
Yeah,
and I got to sit there and look at that. And yeah, for me, that was mentoring, that was being creative, and that was building community. And so I continue to do that now. But now I allow myself to quit things that don't serve me anymore. I do things that most people wouldn't do. Again, the small, like if you look at the percentage of people who've ever done stand-up in their life is crazy small. The amount of people who've done it for the longest amount of time, as long as I did it, was even smaller. Again, Julian, I did a podcast that went past 5 episodes. You've now done a podcast that's 5 episodes. You realize you're in like the top 1% of podcasts just by that number?
I'm very proud of that because of that I do know, just with anything really, a lot of people don't want to do what they want, like how you said. They don't do what they want for whatever reason. And so that's something that I'm proud of both of us, because we both do things that we want to do. You said something about how being the person that you want to be instead of the person that you need to be. I don't know what I need to be. I know I want to be the person who provides for my family, for my friends, and I'm always there for them, whatever. And I think I am that person. I do hope that it never gets taken advantage of. Probably have, but something that I do choose to do or have these outlets of personal freedom and joy. Like me doing this podcast. No matter I have something now. I was like, I'm going to go up this invisible mountain and go as far as I possibly can. Kind of like a Endeavor situation. Like I'm always going to look at the top. Like there's nothing that's going to bring me down. I'm just going to keep fighting for it.
You mean reach the view of at the summit?
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know if you get that reference, but
I probably don't. But no, it might sound like really odd to say, but I want to live my life as close to Luffy as possible. Luffy being the One Piece character, because he really truly just does anything that he wants. And then even at the face of the fee, he's like, well, at least I tried. So that's why I get into then teaching myself 4 different languages, martial arts, this podcast, and then I can't even think of anything else that I'm doing just because of it. You look like you wanted to say something, Josh?
Quick side. No, but it's a weird thing because, like, again, quick nerd sidebar. I do think One Piece is one of the greatest literary works of all time. I haven't read all of it. I know of it, and I keep up to date with it from like a fan standpoint. And I do think One Piece will be, when it's finished, will be better than Lord of the Rings. Fight me on it, but but no, it is this interesting thing in the sense of like, yeah, when you're reading it, its key idea and central theme is this freedom, and it's one of my values. I talk about, and like I guess this is we can kind of segue into this mottos to live by. I've adopted this saying. It's a saying from someone who I didn't realize until I finished the series would become one of my favorite characters. He has this quote that says, "Think about what's fun, don't think about what's easy." And it's weird because it actually makes sense in a lot of things. And people, this is where we get into social definitions. People get sometimes annoyed when I say what's fun. And what's fun isn't always like what's fun. Like people think fun is like going out, having that stuff. No, what's fun to me is like living your ideal. For me, it's like if I want to have a family, that's my idea of my ideals and fun. Like doing that, it's how do I get there? Freedom to be able to go on vacations we want, understanding how do you work back from your goal. And it's not being delusional, but it's understanding the process, being willing to do it. Or in their case, it's just like, again, I play volleyball now. It's a great exercise, but no, some things in sitting here, like, and your even hobbies can make you be better. Like volleyball first got me finally into learning how to eat properly, and as well as like developing a workout routine. And it's not fun. Like I hate waking up at 5:30 to go hop on an off treadmill for 15 minutes and walk backwards uphill.
Jeez.
And you feel it in your hips, but no, it gets easier and it gets better. And you feel it. Like I haven't done my flexibility exercises and now my shoulder is strained. Like these things aren't necessarily fun to do, but it's
what you want to do. And you're doing the hard thing.
like I hate, like, what do I hate more? Do I hate doing these endurance exercises? Yes. Do I hate losing in a tournament because my endurance craps out? That's worse. So yeah. And you can apply the same to life in the sense of there's so many trips I want to go on next year, which I realize to afford, I'm going to have to do something. I have to change some lifestyle things. And that's fine, but it's weighing what's more important. Is experiencing these things more important, or is the ease and comfort? And it'd be easier to sit in comfort, relax, watch my shows and just live easy. Or, I could be greedy and like, there's nothing, I think greed and ego get a bad rep, which I think that would be a fun conversation for later, but
you're always welcome back. You're always welcome back on the show whenever you will have a question.
But no, it's like, if we want it, let's go and get it. And I think we're both starting to do that. I mean, it's a slow process for both of us. And, I might have to learn a language soon, seeing as some things in my life some things in my life progress, maybe a certain language I may have to learn, but no, that's kind of where, like, do you have any models you've started to adopt?
Not started to I really do feel like everything that it's kind of just reshaping itself. Because something for me is, ironically, another thing from One Piece is something that Shank said, or I'm pretty sure it was Shank, is like, if the path is too easy, you're on the wrong path. So I think that ties into what I'm trying to do. I'm not one to quit on anything. I kid you not. I will give 110%, even though I don't have anything in my tank, because there's been multiple times in my life, 2 times specifically, I can recall, is when I was playing basketball and I tore
your patellar tendon.
Oh no, not that time, not that time, not that time. But if one of those times is I had no food, like all day, and for whatever I was playing high school, and I could have chosen to go back and everything. Didn't do it for just lack of planning. That's always been a downside of me. I'm not the best, but I guarantee you, no one could tell that I had no food in my system that whole game, because every game I play to my best ability. And whether that kills me getting off the court, I'm enjoying myself to even care until it's over. Yeah, no, that's the one model that I can think of. Another model. Yeah, no, I really have the mentality of I'm going to do what I want. Do what you have to, but I'm still going to do what I want.
Just realize in relationships there will be compromise, so it's do what we want eventually with it, or what I want within reason. Just putting that out there.
This is true. That is very true. But I think that's something that people don't do. Take accountability of their own actions. Like if I choose to do something, I'm going to
accept the consequences.
Exactly. Yeah. So, let's just say for heinous reasons, right? Let's just say I decide to rob a bank for whatever reason. I decided to rob a bank.
Mark this point, editor. Mark this point, editor.
Let's just say I decide to rob a bank, right? And
hypothetically,
I choose to rob a bank, right?
We're both law-abiding citizens.
Yes. But I happen to get caught. I'm just gonna have to eat that bullet. Like I'm going to get caught, do my time, do whatever. Like that's the life that I happen to choose because I chose to rob the bank or whatever. You're not going to make me do something I don't want to do. Point blank, period.
Okay.
Anything else you have? Things like we have a couple of times. We really can just be going on a tangent.
I mean, I think this is a good line of questioning because, like you said, we have to accept the consequences. So I guess if we want to get serious, I guess what's the low and what's the high? Because I think these are where you learn the most from your low. I think people say you don't learn from winning. I think that's stupid. I think we learn from our losses and we learn from our wins. So I guess what's one of your low? What's like a major low for you, and what's a major high? Yeah. So like for example, I think one of my lows was having to. There's been major lows like when I got let go, or when like COVID happened and like all my plans kind of fell through. And I learned a lot, like not to build up my expectations. I think one of my major lows this year is realizing my goals had changed. And I realized this like because our book club read Shook One by Charlemagne the God. In my mind's anxieties playing tricks on me. Definitely strong read, recommend.
Go.
Great read on Audible. Audible, get a free 14-day trial on Audible. We don't have a subscription code. Maybe Audible can give you one. They host podcasts as well. But no, after reading Shook One, I went back to therapy. It was a group. We all started going to our own individual therapists. Julian, we're still waiting on that checkpoint. But but no, it was a thing in the sense of like I had to let go of the person I was and see the person I am and understand the person I want to be. And going into there every Monday for the first few months was rough, and I like it would hit, and I'd go through it, and I didn't know if things could get better at some points. It's just constantly, is this what it is? Because I do have a deep internal dialogue, and that's just as an introvert, as a logical person, as an engineer. I think we're always calculating socially, logically, emotionally. And having to deal with that critic in a space was hard, and acknowledge all my past and the things who I was. I didn't necessarily like where I was in my life, and that was the low. And when you don't think it get better, it's hard. However, at that point, I don't believe pick yourself by your own bootstraps it's what was weird is that saying is literally impossible. But no, you sit there, and there was someone who said self-pity and narcissism are two sides of the same coin. And I thought about that, and it was like, just again, started plotting my course back. Like I had my group of people I supported. I relied on my hand. I connected myself with people and started to think about what I could do to get better and continue to go through this process. And I guess and expose myself to new things. Like I started dancing. I gave up comedy for a bit because it wasn't serving me anymore. I stopped talking to some friends for a bit because they weren't serving me anymore. I stopped trying to regain what I'd lost or be the person I was and look forward. And I guess it kind of culminated in the high to where I planned my friend's wedding this year, which again, I still don't understand how that happened, but I allowed myself to, throughout that whole experience, I didn't believe I was qualified or good enough for it. Didn't believe I was offering enough value. And when we got to the end of it, to be genuinely thanked and curious allowed me to see and start to finally accept my actions have positive impacts on people's lives. And I have high expectations for myself, and I hold myself to insane standards sometimes, but people truly believing people truly cherish what you do and going through that, it's probably one of the most impactful experiences of my life. And it was 6 months of my life. I used to joke about giving up my Tuesdays and Saturdays sometimes, and driving and visiting. And this couple, we're friends now, but sometimes very different attitudes. I'm more anxious. They're very laissez-faire, go with the flow. But no,
that's me. Go with the flow type person. That's me.
Yeah. So I'll be ready to plan your wedding is what I'm hearing now. But yeah, to be genuinely appreciated like that, especially for people you didn't think you'd care about that much, because I didn't meet these people long ago, but they're in part of my life, and it really gave me the self-confidence, that self-confidence boost, but this change in mindset in the sense of I don't need to keep proving myself to people.
Okay.
And I don't, and there's people, again, there's people I believed cared about me, and that's exposed through experience. But even in the short term, people do care about you, and the things you do really do matter to people. And I didn't think I'd have to. And I know for those who know me who hear this won't think I always do that. No, it took me a while to get back there.
I figured out my low. My low is realizing not everyone's going to treat. It's with the golden rule: treat others the way you want to be treated. I'm realizing that doesn't apply. The way I would want, so I act how I would want to treat other people and how they won't. And I see now that's not always reciprocal. So, case in point, I can just go, hey, I traveled 100 miles for you, right? But yet you only travel 10. Like it's never going to be equal. That's what I'm trying to say. And that's something that I'm realizing. What I put in might not come out with the same intensity.
That's a hard one to learn. And sometimes there is like rationalizations, I think. And I wonder if you agree with this. There's some people who just can't give in the same way you do, and you guys have to compromise. And there's some people where they won't change, so it's not worth fretting over.
Yeah, no, that is definitely something that I have to deal with on both fronts. People who aren't going to change, and then in a sense of I also have to compromise. Like I've dealt with both of that, and it sucks. It truly sucks because it's actually the reason why I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna need to go to therapy about this because I've done as much as I can to solve the problem, and the problem is resolved, but I know I'm still not 100%. So that is definitely my low. But high, it's so hard to think of the highs because
they're not as memorable because we tend to be more negative as human beings.
Yeah, and I've been trying to fix that because of when we lived together, actually, someone was like, hey, brought it to my attention, like, I only ask negative questions. So from that moment on, I've been trying to ask both positive and negative questions just to balance it out. But no, for real, my high is, I think I'm living my low and I'm living my high at the same time right now because I'm planning at least 4 different trips and it's signs that I'm doing things right. I actually got off the phone with a life insurance person and everything. And it's like, wait, you're 25 and you're thinking about life insurance? I'm like, yeah, why wouldn't I? The one certain thing in life is death. Hate to say it.
Yeah.
hate to say it.
Oh, positive.
Yeah, so it's like the fact that I'm even thinking about it and I was like, oh, because you're starting young, you'll be able to do X, Y, and Z, help your family, get some money off of it to like not even, but just so they aren't going to be burdened, be hit with 2 burdens of 1, the loss of me, and then 2, having to pay for the loss. Yeah. That's a little statistic. They said there's like 85% of GoFundMe is because people have passed away. I'm like, I don't want that for the people who are coming, who's going to be taking care of me.
Yeah, you reminded me I need to change my life insurance policy. But to follow up on that, how do you know you're doing things right? Because this is where it's interesting. Because to go on, like as I talked about earlier, it's what you not doing what you should do. It's doing what you want to do. But it's how do you know what you're doing right now is right?
For me, the way I feel like I'm doing things are right is I've gotten past the point of the am I crazy phase of like I don't ask if I'm crazy. Like I'm not even sending my ways, but I'm like I'm looking for a different opinion at this point because I'm certain of myself. Like no, this is how I am, and I think the way I know I'm doing things are right when people are telling me I'm right unprovoked. Like I'm not seeking it out. They just tell me it's like yeah, you're on the right path. Keep going the way you're going. That's my indication of how I'm doing things right. What about you?
It's funny because I'm a little different. I guess I got a lot of admiration, and for me, it's going from like getting barely any to like getting a ton. I'm trying to find that balance. So now I'm looking for these more intrinsic notifications. So I think for me, as they say in Buddhism, I think it's Buddhism and a lot of things, life is suffering. Now, for me, it comes in the sense of acknowledging, is it worth it, right? Like, is the things I'm fretting over something I really care about? Like, is this small thing that's driving me insane worth my time? Or is someone pushing me out of a character. Like recently, I was at a point of where I was so angry, I had to I acknowledged the fact that I was out of character, and I called people close to me, which I never would have done in the past, because I think at a certain point I just got too used to suppressing emotions, and it came out, and it always comes out in other ways. Don't suppress, work through your stuff.
Like I said, you're the person who's done the most personal growth. Continue.
And it's a journey. It's still a journey, but no, you start to work through, like, I admit to the feelings I have and like actually work through my problems. Because like I got really good at logic, but I guess for me it's understanding what it is worth it. Like I'm in a place now where I'm going against challenging previous held beliefs constantly, working towards my goals, and actually understanding, like, is this worth it? And the biggest thing I'm learning is just saying no to things that don't serve me anymore, and not feeling responsible for everything that happens in my environment. And what I mean by that, it's my actions have consequences, but I'm not responsible for how other people feel, what happens to them after, and what happens to them. Or even if I make a choice which benefits me, I don't always have to sacrifice myself for other people. And I think, especially as a guy, that's something we start to tend to lean towards doing, unfortunately. And now I'm taking back some of my, I guess, freedom. And I'm still respectful of people, but there's a certain point in the sense of I'm doing a lot. And there's certain people who I'll give my everything to. And, it's literally a handful. I believe in 5 close people and groups in your life. But yeah, not having to do that for everyone, and not believing everyone deserves your time or your willingness. And then the things I am doing, they don't always bring me joy, but they bring me comfort and growth, and the benefits outweigh the cost, in the sense of they applaud you when you're doing the hard things. They there for you when they're struggling, and the things you do fulfill you versus are just another notch on the belt.
Just to hit on your point real fast about, as guys, we tend to lean. I think that's kind of built into our system of how we grow up. Like, you always have to sacrifice yourself for the betterment of others.
Which, again, there's everyone has their own complex. Hero complex is great, but it's
at what cost?
It's, again, to a certain point, you can't save other people until you save yourself, and that's why I'm big on working to be better and trying to be better. And I want to be I don't need to hit all my goals, but I need to be in a place where I'm not even not happy, but I found meaning in what I do.
Okay.
Because happiness is elusive and temporary. Meaning is where you want to be. Again, on Audible, you could read Man's Search for Meaning, a great tale of a Holocaust survivor who really works through understanding the purpose in life.
Guys, I promise you, I have not put him up to this. He's ad-libbing at this point. He's just having fun. I promise you, I did not put him up to any of these ads. But
speaking of doing the right thing, what's something you've either stopped doing or tried to stop doing? There's so many where it's just like a constant progress.
No, wait. What was the question?
How we know we're doing the right thing. What's something, I guess, you tried to stop doing, or you stopped doing, or tried to stop doing to go on that path of growth and becoming better?
Literally, I cannot think of what that I've been trying. Yeah, no, I can't think of any. You have an answer for this as of right now? Because I literally can't think of anything I've tried or haven't.
I think it's being overly cautious, and to think of, again, thinking my actions have bigger consequences and catastrophizing a bit, in the sense of, again, I can look forward in the future and understand my consequences. And I used to think everything had an impact, and I'd overthink. I'm now just letting things happen to me a bit more, and really just eating the consequences, good or bad. And I think more it's working out in good rather than bad, in the sense of having these tough conversations, which I didn't think we're able to, or I got used to just doing things on my own. And now, again, thinking about, you can depend on people, you can open up to people and things with consequences, or there's more people understanding or going through similar things. And I think it helps, and you're more celebrated. And I think it would have changed, if I would have done it earlier, it would have changed some friendships and relationships I had. And now it's not too late. And especially, you don't want to have that Will Smith moment
All right, just for clarification, we've been reading Will Smith. That Will Smith moment can be either the slap or him just becoming great. Like there's multiple Will Smith versions.
I think it's the more iconic one in the sense of what we're referencing here is if you again Audible, you can read Will Smith's book, hear him tell it to you himself. Will by Will Smith, co-written by Mark Manson. But on Audible, get your 14-day free trial, and with the membership comes in. Yeah, I'm really trying to get you the sponsorship, but no, it is this. Yeah, it is this thing in the sense of like you don't want to be at the end of your road of like the thing you've been working towards and break, because a slap, and the sense of how I saw it, it was a break of turmoil, of pain, of anguish. We like our book club really focuses on this with all the books we kind of read, turning things around before you're like at the top of the mountain and then you explode.
I'm still stuck on this. What have I stopped doing? I'm still trying to think about that. You really got me with the question that I'm gonna have to think about first.
Stop putting honey, milk, and 7 spices in your eggs. I can tell you that. I can tell you that we've learned how to cook. We've learned how to. We haven't learned how to cook. We learned how to make edible food.
It was edible. I promise you, everything I made was edible.
It was edible for your palate. It was edible for a palate that hasn't tasted good food, that hasn't tasted high end food.
Oh, I'm still. Look, but I have improved. I have definitely improved from senior year of the shenanigans.
That's a massive understatement.
But it's been roughly an hour. You have any social medias? Anything that you wanna tell the people about? Another ad?
No, not another ad. You can find me on LinkedIn. LinkedIn's probably the only social media I use concurrently. Everything else has its purpose. Trying to take a step back, refocus, as after reading some books and Cal Newport's book, World Without Email, I'll go on social media breaks. Cal Newport, World Without Email, another great book you can find on Audible, which discusses how we can increase productivity and how email has taken over our daily work structure and how there are better ways to use these tools in modern day. But where can you find A World Without Email? On Audible. Again, 14-day free trial on Audible. Waiting for this code. Julian will have this code. I tell you what, we're hoping for the sponsorship. But no, I guess the last, what's a fun question is, what's a interesting piece of media that's actually made you want to change in positive ways? That new one. Can't mention One Piece.
Okay, I misheard your question, but that will be for the audience. They get to put it in the comments, and then I have a quote is from a new mentor that he doesn't know he's my mentor, but he's my mentor, Alex Sanfilippo. Don't get overwhelmed. Do what you can to get 1% better daily. That's it. Alex Sanfilippo.
I guess, what is it? I'll leave a quote as well. This is from, what is it? My comedic hero said this on a podcast episode. Hero, not role model, because don't meet your heroes. But also, role model would be a different person, because I align more with the way they think. But Andrew Schultz once said, I do believe this, once you understand who you are and what you believe in, life becomes quite simple because you know how to handle every interaction. And so, as I'm doing this inner work to become better and understand how to deal with unfamiliar scenarios, you go out there and do your personal work there as well, Julian, as well as the audience. And yeah, that's all from me. Glad to be here, Julian. I will be back. I'd like to be back at episode 50. Let's do episode 50.
All right. We can make it happen.
I'm just saying, we drop in Patreon episodes, so.
Oh, you're part of. I think he just put himself on the team like that.
Again, I'm here for support. I'm here for support as always. I'm here to help. Let me know if you need anything. There's people who are interested. As you get more abroad, I'm always here. I got you on this track, so I should support you through it.
I really appreciate it. But no, I really do appreciate it. But that's it for right now. We'll see you in the next episode. See you.
Wow, you're still here. Well, If you enjoyed the episode, there are a few different ways to support our podcast. Following us on Twitter, Instagram, or YouTube, or becoming a supporter of our Patreon for $2 or $5 a month, where you'll have access to never before released visual episodes, funny bloopers, polls, or you can pose a question. The links can be found in the description wherever you listen. The simplest way to support us is by leaving a review about how great or bad we are, or telling a friend about our show. Anyways, thanks for listening.